What up? What up? It's Golden Spaces, an Odyssey original podcast. We are here after a victory. It's crazy how they'll lose a game and everybody's like, "Yo, the sky's falling."
Yeah.
Like, trade everybody, send this guy to the bench, release this guy, whatever, fire this guy. They win one game, we're back to the championship. We're winning the championship.
We back.
We are so back.
Yeah.
We're so
I
back.
think it happens the kind of loss that we had the other night.
Yeah.
That one it was just gut wrenching. It just everything that could possibly happen happened. And so, you're at your lowest.
Yeah.
So even no, I would say if we won this game by 2 points, I think it would have lifted folks a little bit. But the fact that, listen, we were up
Mm-hmm.
by a good margin. Teams go on runs. That's what happens in basketball. Yet we still maintained. We weren't behind ever. We were always leading. So just that we kept it up, we didn't, fumble it away,
Mm-hmm.
then you're allowed to breathe easier. So
For sure. For
yeah.
sure. Yeah. It was a good wire to wire
Mm-hmm.
victory. I'm pretty sure the Warriors won 120 to 114. They won the first half by a lot. I think they were up they were up
Well,
12, 11.
it could, yeah.
It should have
Well,
been more.
at the half, yes, it was 11. But we had our moments. We were up 18. We were up. I want to say we clocked 20 at some point, and then brought it
Mm-hmm.
back down. But overall, we were still contending. We were still, making the distance, keeping the distance between us.
For
So
sure. For sure. And I mean this game is highlighted by their bench.
yes, welcome back, second unit.
Welcome back, right? And I mean, obviously this game, CP3's out, Gary's out, Wiggins is out.
Yes.
So they kind of backs against the wall, don't want to slide too far down. You have an opportunity to go 3 games under 500, and they, do a pretty good job out there. Like Brandin Podziemski, he's
Firecracker.
a game changer. He's just a game changer out there.
Yes, he
Thir-
is.
13 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. He was a plus 12, making plays left and right, drawing offensive fouls, no turnovers, just making the right decision in advantage situations consistently, getting to the basket, finishing. He's much better defensively than he
Then
was
you were giving
projected to
him
be.
credit for?
Yeah. Everyone in the draft process was saying he's going to struggle to guard on the NBA level. He's going to struggle
I
to guard.
remember that. Yeah.
And I mean, he's not a crazy athlete. He doesn't have a crazy wingspan. He's not very tall or anything like that. Like, he's about standard size for a point guard. Yet he just stays in front of guys. He's scrappy and he's really, really smart. So he holds his own defensively.
Right. And I think he has some good vets to kind of help that along. You've got Draymond talking to him. You've got Gary Payton the second, who is in his ear too. So I just think that's a perfect combination for him. And you see it as soon as he gets in the game, instant impact. And that's what we needed. That's exactly what we needed, and got that second unit going. Even listen, Corey Joseph even held his own. He was even in there grabbing boards, tapping it out, and he was the shortest one out there, but he was doing it. And with the Clippers, they had all their peeps except for, PJ. But again, we're talking, you still had your starters.
Yeah. PJ is kind of washed at this point. But I mean, the Clippers are on a back-to-back, so we have to kind of take this win with not with a grain of salt, but you gotta, add that in there. And we'll see when we play the Clippers again, because they play them 2 times again in their next 3 games. We'll see how they do in those games, especially with guys coming back from injury and stuff like that, being back into the fold. But it was a good victory. They pretty much held Paul George completely in check, right? 15 points on 18 shots. Kawhi had his moments when he kind of got hot, but it was mostly on situations where he's getting the ball kicked out to him and he's taking a catch and shoot shot rather than actually trying to score one-on-one on guys. Draymond and Klay pretty much clamped him down in one-on-one all night. And, James Harden just looked kind of fat and slow on defense the whole night. They hunted him.
Yeah, they were picking on Harden.
Picked on him. He was giving up bucket after bucket, layup after layup. And yeah, he really compromised their defense. I think the Clippers are like 5-8 with him now. So
they won. So they've won some games with him. See,
they've won some games with him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, for the Warriors, the standouts. Obviously, we already mentioned Pods. Corey Joseph had a decent game. I think he does some things that kind of annoys everyone, but for the most part, he plays really, really hard and he doesn't make too many mistakes. So I think we can live with him just kind of being a player out there. Like, he doesn't really affect the game too much. He's just out there, but at least he isn't negatively affecting the game too much, right?
Okay, I was going to say, like, you can't just say he's really, he's just out there. But if he's not in there fighting for those rebounds, there's a lot of times we're not getting those second chance points, or the Clippers are getting those second chance points, but he's in the trees, in there, tapping it out, getting on the ground. So he's making the hustle plays. So I'm not just going to, toss that aside because those were important.
For sure. Yeah. Gotta mention that. Anybody that can go out there and mix it up and not be afraid to, bang with some bigger players and stuff like that, definitely can't go unnoticed. Jonathan Kuminga had his best game in a long time.
It was so good to see. He clearly watched the film of the last game where he just looked like he forgot how to play. So this was a really great bounce back game for him. And he was putting things together. And I didn't find myself saying, Kuminga, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, I was encouraged every time. I was like, yes, this is what we're talking about. And he stayed within himself. He didn't, just go off the rails. Yeah, he had those, like you said, does he have grease on his hands or whatever? But he still got back in it. So there wasn't a moment where I just really felt like, if he don't sit down.
Yeah. And it makes you kind of think about this, like, there's no Chris Paul, there's no Gary, right? So how is that affecting his game, right? I personally think him, in the units with Chris Paul, it's a lot of pick and roll with Dario, right? And I've been saying this all season. They kind of park JK in that corner. And today he did catch it. He did shoot a lot of threes.
Yeah.
But they were different. It was different energy to those threes. Right. For one. For two, he was just playing in a lot more space. So he can attack closeouts. He can get to his mid-range. He was used as a screener a little bit more. So I think that's something that they need to explore going forward. Just allowing him to be a little bit more dynamic than just a spot-up shooter, especially on the court with a guy like Gary, who just kind of does the same thing as him. They get in each other's way sometimes. And they're both good players. So it's not like you want to sit one of them, but you just got to tweak the combos a little bit much. I don't think those two together are a combo that makes a ton of sense right now. Maybe when JK becomes a better three-point shooter, yes. But right now, I think he should be utilized as somebody that's attacking the rim consistently. So that's just something they got to explore. I don't know if they can make that happen with CP3 because CP3 apparently just loves Dario as his pick and roll partner exclusively, or maybe Steve does. But they got to figure something out there.
Well, with Chris Paul watching the game, maybe he can kind of see it a little differently to say, hey, you know what? Let me try to mix it up. I don't have to be stuck to Dario when it's our unit playing. You know what I mean? So let's try and mix this up. I think he has, some credibility that he could speak up and be like, hey, let's try this.
Yeah. Has to. I mean, he's a smart player, so it's like you got to know that you got different weapons on your team and not just Dario. But speaking of Dario was pretty good for the majority of the game. He was getting smaller players in the post and just finding the right play.
Yep. making them work at drawing the foul. So he was doing what he was supposed to do. But what I find with Dario is that it doesn't matter what is happening, whatever slot he's put in, he's going to work hard. So either way, he's going to be out there trying. It's not just going to be like, he feels, deflated or anything. He's out there. He's always working. So that's a plus.
For sure. Now, I will say I mean, he's not a center.
He's not a center. That is very clear. And I will give it to Kerr. He did call that timeout. He was just like, okay, we see it's not working. Not working. But that was just, hey, we're just filling some time, giving people some rest real quick because, we're going to need these people in the fourth. So, but he saw, no, we're getting away from what we need to be doing.
Yeah.
So you didn't see that anymore.
Right. And I mean, like you said, he fights, he claws, he plays extremely hard, but there's just some things physically he cannot do, right? He's not that fast. He can't play above the rim on either end, so he's not a shot blocker. And sometimes he mistimes his jumps and stuff like that. He's kind of like goofy moving a little bit. So you need to be somebody who is quick to the ball, whether it be laterally or vertically, to be a good defensive center. He's just not that, but he does so many other things well. You have to play him. So they have to find ways to get him in lineups with other rim protectors, so they can just kind of salvage the defense a little bit more. But he had 13 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, no turnovers. He was a plus 15. Like I said, he was getting the mismatches in the post and just kicking it out to guys right on the money. That's he's been everything that they wanted him to be and they expected him to be when they got him in free agency. That's why they went after him so hard. Moving on to the starters. Let's start with the good. Best plus minus of the starters was the guy who shouldn't be starting, right?
Not Moses. Are you saying Moses?
Not Moses. Not Moses. Not
Klay Thompson. Klay Alexander Thompson.
Klay Alexander Thompson.
Look, +8. Isn't it Alexander? It's not?
Yeah.
I thought it was.
It might be. It might be Alexander. I'm pretty sure it is. But yeah, Klay Thompson, he was a +8. He led the bench unit in the first half. He wasn't really shooting the ball well in the first half, but they were killing his minutes largely because he was just playing within the flow of the game, taking good shots. He didn't necessarily hit all the good shots, but he was taking them. And he wasn't forcing the shot, despite what people say. He was playing defense, despite what people say. Followed up a 9-rebound game with a 6-rebound game, despite what people say. And then early in the fourth quarter, went on with a solo 10 point run by himself.
He did, like, in 90 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, but it was starting to look bleak. No one could hit a shot. It just was looking cray-cray.
A little cricket. We'll get into that because, we'll save that for a little bit later. But Klay Thompson, 34 minutes. He led the team in minutes. Had a really good game, 22 points, moving the ball well. Found his shot in the second half and kind of kept them, like you said, it was looking bleak. He put them back on top. Like he put them back with a comfortable lead for Steph and Draymond to come back in to kind of take it home. Moving on to Steph.
Moving on to Steph.
Steph is Steph, right? And it's interesting. His turnovers have been like super annoying all season, right? He had 2 bad ones.
He did.
But other than that, he was pretty stable with the ball. And he only had 2 turnovers total. And it's like you put him off the ball and he somehow turns the ball over more, right? Then you put him on the ball and make him play point guard because CP3 is not there, and all of a sudden he's not turning the ball over as much anymore. It's a very weird dynamic with Steph.
Yeah, and he's missing free throws. I don't like that. Let's get it together. He missed 2, and it was just like, what's happening?
Yeah,
and he missed them badly.
Right. That's so weird. It's like Steph misses a free throw, and everybody's like pissed.
Yeah,
it's like you are supposed to shoot 100%.
Right? You are not allowed to miss. Everybody else, we're still pissed at them for missing, but you cannot miss.
Exactly. But he he sleptwalked really in the 26 points. I don't even think he scored in the first quarter.
What
Maybe
did he
I don't
have
even think
like
he shot
14 shots or something? Like
15 shots. Yeah, he's pretty good. I mean, and the Clippers are, like I said, the Clippers are not equipped to guard him. They have a bunch of wings who can't really move their feet that well anymore, other than Paul George. Paul George can't stick him. So if Paul George can't check him, nobody on this team can check him. Um, pretty easy night for him. 26, 8 and 7, a steal and a block. I don't know whose shot he blocked, but yeah, pretty good overall game for him. And then our guy Moses
with the start.
with the start. Kind of knew that was going to happen after everything that went on
Right.
last game, is the controversy about him not finishing the game and stuff like that. We knew he was going to get the start with Wiggins out, and he played well. Like, he's just a good player. Like, it's just not even a question at this point. He's a good player. He should be playing 20 plus minutes a game going forward. He does so many things for this team. I've seen people on a timeline comparing him to Andre. I've kind of always compared him to Andre. Right? Like, he just fills up the stat sheet. He does so many things defensively. He can protect the rim, guard point of attack, guard wings, guard bigs.
He can get player. He's not afraid to get on the ground.
He's not afraid to get on the ground and take charges and dive. Yeah. Very physical.
Yes.
Super underrated. Super underrated upside, I think, coming in as a rookie.
Where did he hit with minutes this time as a starter? Because the last time he had a good, cool little 10 minutes or something as a starter. But this time he at least what?
28.
28 minutes. Now look at God. Go ahead, Moses. Go ahead,
Moses. 13 points. He was getting offensive rebounds and putting them back. Just doing everything.
Early on, he was getting good looks. They just weren't falling, but we knew he still was going to stay involved and he was going to get something to go. And that's exactly what happened. He got some layups, just following up on his missed shot, putting it back. So he was still saying, I'm still out here. I'm still going to be working and it will come. And it did.
Exactly. And this is what Steve has to realize. Like, when young guys don't have it going for a stretch of basketball, they can just get it going, right? Like, you got to trust players at some point to turn things around. He's a young player, so he's going to have stretches where he isn't playing well, just like the older players do as well.
Right.
But the energy that he brings consistent energy and effort, and that alone can just change things for you.
Effort is supposed to keep you on the court. You give an effort, you're supposed to be out on the court. I think with everything that got called out about the mishandling of Moses in that Sacramento game, listen, Kerr did cop to it and say, yeah, my bad. And like I said, I hope that was his wake-up call. And you saw, listen, okay, yeah, Wiggins is out. We're going to start Moody, but at least he still started Moses, because he easily could have just said JK is going to go in there or something, but he started Moses. He finished with Moses. Like, so I'm just hoping that this is that little turn right there. And we got to see him and Klay together more. So, and I know that's been, your calling card there. So
they both can shoot. They both can shoot. They both can make a play off the bounce, attacking the closeout. It's just a smart thing to do to play your two best shooters other than Steph on the court with Steph. That way you're pretty much always a threat to hit a three. Moving on to Draymond Green. Had an up and down game, right? Like, good moments, some moments, a little foul happy. But for the most part, he was still very disruptive defensively. He's still pushing the pace, which is what they really, really need.
Yes.
And he was just on the court. I don't think he got a tech today, which is like, it should be expected. But
it was close. It was getting close. It was getting close.
Yeah, almost got a flagrant too.
Yeah.
But 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 13 points.
And he was guarding Kawhi. So he's And
Mm-hmm.
Kawhi really wasn't doing the Kawhi thing
Yeah.
that, drawing the fouls. And it's just like, the wind blows and Kawhi is at the line. So
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't that. This was a very balanced, I'd say, foul, and
Yeah.
free throws in this game, which was refreshing because you saw how the game just moved
Yeah. Yeah.
opposed to the other night.
Yeah, and that's it's always going to be advantage Warriors. If it's an up and down game with not a lot of stoppages, the Warriors are going to win that game more times than not because they have players that is just used to that chaotic pace
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more. Now, Draymond himself did have 5 fouls, but they weren't really on like Kawhi and stuff like that. It was
Right.
on Zubac,
Yeah.
helping off and then trying to recover stuff like that. But yeah, Kawhi didn't want any parts of trying to score on Draymond. He tried him once or twice, and then after that,
And
he
he
was
was
like,
like, nah. He
yeah,
was like, we gonna see them in a couple of days back at the
right,
crib. So
right. And I mean, I'm pretty sure he played last night too. I mean, at this point,
yeah.
his burst is kind of cooked in a 1-on-1. If he can't get you off your balance with a pump fake or something, it's going to be tough for him to consistently score on those wing guys. But he can still knock down a catch and shoot jumper like it's nothing. So he went on a little stretch himself where he was scoring, but they kept him relatively in check. He only had 23 points. Moving on to the last player who we have not discussed. Fan fave, but it's some conversations that need to be had about my man Kevon.
Yeah. I just don't know what I just can't believe that. You know what? I think maybe playing 82 games back to back seasons, I think it's finally caught up to him.
Mm-hmm.
And just the kind of start to the season that we had, being on the road, playing, just multiple games in a few nights. I think that probably just caught up to him. And he did the whole China tour for Anta and things like that. So I think it's caught up to Looney to where we are seeing that he is laboring so much more, because last season that was not Looney. Looney was, he was on it. But
Mm-hmm.
you can physically see that he's, like, whew, this is a lot. And then he's getting back into his pump faking and not being able to finish, because just last season he was finishing there. He had moves, spins, like whoops, up
Mm-hmm.
and unders and everything. And now it's just it's taken a lot more. And I know also with Draymond being out too, he's had to carry even more of a load. So I think, and like we said, Looney is used to, hey, I can come off the bench. I don't care. Like, whatever you need me to do, I can be that for you. So do we think it's taking that kind of turn to, hey, maybe he doesn't start and we insert someone else in the starting? And it does not have to be Chris Paul. The starting lineup, like that's not the call that I'm thinking of. But you did see that Looney did get pulled. He did
Mm-hmm.
get pulled in this game, and it was like, okay, nah, you didn't miss too many layups back to back. Now we got
And
to win this game.
for sure. And it's gone beyond the finishing. The finishing is the thing that jumps off the screen. Obviously, it's just a jarring thing to see someone miss layups and stuff like that. But I just think overall at this point, like you said, he may be tired from playing all these games, stuff like that. I just think he looks not in peak form, not in peak shape,
Yeah,
whether it's from fatigue or if it's from him being so fatigued once he got to the offseason that he didn't train as much as he could
right.
have.
Yeah.
Right. And you throw that China trip in there as well. Maybe he threw his training off a little bit, but he looks overweight. I'm not going to lie. You can kind of see his gut through the jersey,
Ooh.
but he just looks a little slow, right, on both ends. So defensively, Looney was pretty much known for the majority of his career as a big that can switch on the perimeter,
Yep.
contain guards, contain wings, and get a good contest. And it was pretty much like, oh, you think you're going to score on Looney in this ISO situation,
Right.
but you don't. Now he's getting scored on every time.
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Like you look up the NBA stats for isolation defense, and he's given up over a point per possession, which is pretty bad.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
and I think it was a stretch early in maybe the third, or there was a stretch at some point in the second half where it was missed layup, gave
That
up a bucket,
yeah,
missed
that was
layup.
third. That was the stretch where Kerr was like, "No,
Hmm.
I'm the freak out. You got to come out. Everybody else in."
Dario, yep.
Yep.
It,
No more.
they put Dario. I think they put Dario in immediately. They put somebody in for Loon immediately, and then it was just like Warriors run.
Yep.
Like it was like, yep, we're going straight back up, and it was just so. It was such a crazy contrast.
Instant.
Yeah, it was crazy to see in real time, but I mean, it's been pretty. I kind of expected it to happen that way, and like I said, I don't want to pile on Loon or anything like that, but I
Yeah.
will say, for the majority of this season, Wiggs is coming along a little bit recently in the games, but for the
Mhm.
majority of the season, Wiggs has been very subpar for his standard, and
Yes.
under the radar, Looney has been very subpar for his standard, and I think that has contributed more to the starters being very under their standard than
Yeah.
it has and people were just kind of piling on Klay and say it's Klay's fault, he's being too selfish, whatever the case may be. I'm like, you got to look at the two 28-year-olds who are in their prime still, underperforming relative to what they're being asked to do. And that's pretty much the main reason why the starters have sucked, right? I mean, we're seeing it in real time. Like Looney today, it was almost disastrous out
Yeah.
there. It was pretty disastrous against the Kings when unnoticed, but it was pretty disastrous against the Kings, and it was almost the same thing this day. And Kerr decided to pull the plug early, and he didn't get back into the game for the rest of the game. And the Warriors kind of never looked back from there. So that's just something to monitor going forward. Like, do they just cut his minutes a little bit lower? Because I know he wants to have it actually on the stat sheet that he plays
That
all
he
82.
played.
Is it
Right.
one of those he does a tip off and then sits? Is it
Right.
one of is it one of those he plays the
Warm up
first
that
5 minutes?
one now. Right.
Yeah. Like, what is it? How do they do it? Because they got to find a way.
Yeah, but they're still gonna need him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, cutting back the minutes, that's where we can start. Um, and also listen, and I will give him credit still. He has worked on his free throw shooting because I don't cringe and when he's going to the line because he missed the layup and already thinking he ain't making these. No, I actually feel confidence in knowing, oh, okay, hey, he didn't make the layup. There is no and one situation, but it it's scaling up that he's going to make both of them.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
but yeah, they got to figure out that. I think ultimately, at this point, too many teams in the league are just welcoming the Draymond and Looney front court because they know defensively it's just going to be that much easier to guard the Warriors now.
mhm.
If he isn't mobile enough to finish at the rim or do the things that he was doing last year, then it becomes impossible for them to generate consistent good offense in that starting group. So hopefully he figures it out as far as like getting into better physical shape again and getting back to what he was the last 2 seasons. And then hopefully Kerr figures out a way to facilitate that happening and also find a way to cut his minutes down in the meantime and play other guys who are going to help this team win more games in the you know short term future.
So, do you see that there's a possibility that Looney can get into shape come, the second part of the season, that he will kind of round out into shape?
Hmm. Yeah, I think so. Like I said, if it's a
Okay.
fatigue thing, then just cut his minutes. Like put him on a
Right.
minutes restriction, allow him to regenerate.
Mhm.
Because you have other options, and this is why it's so frustrating that Kerr hasn't tried Trace. He's tried Pods, and Pods has delivered. Right,
Yeah.
even on the team with a ton of guards and perimeter players, they still find a way to get Pods out there, and he's playing. This team doesn't have a crazy amount of bigs, right? Like you have Loon, you have Dario, you have Draymond. Those are only three guys that's really playing center for this team. And we've seen Dario is
It's
not really a center, and
right.
Loon is not playing well.
Right.
So why not try Trace?
Yeah.
Right. So
I mean, I don't know what Trace was going to be doing in the Kings game like that. I don't know that he was going to be doing too much, but in this one, hey, maybe we could have thrown him out there. But I think, listen, we've got like some back-to-back games, like close, tightly in this schedule. So I think we'll see Trace because we are down 2 dudes because Wiggins hope will be back next game, but we are down 2 guys. So I think we'll see some Trace.
I hope so, because he provides something that our other bigs don't provide, which is that above the rim play. And this is something that Kerr has to realize, like on this specific team, you have a lot of young guys. Those young guys can provide things that you can't get elsewhere on the roster. So you kind of got to live with the potential mistakes that they make and live with it. You got to, that's the part of development. But they are absolutely tied to this team being the best version it can be. You can't just always ride it out with the guys that you trust and all that type of stuff, right? Like sometimes those guys don't have it, right? So you gotta play the other guys. But 9 and 10 now.
Okay.
Not too bad. No, I'm just kidding. That's pretty bad.
It stinks, but
We're in the play-in. We're in the play-in now.
Okay.
At
All
the 10th spot.
Steps, baby steps.
Yeah. So they should look to climb up a little bit. Like they're only a game and a half out of the 6th place spot. Sucks that we're back doing this again, seeing how many games back we are, like we were doing last year. But it just is what it is at this point. Their next game is against the Clippers in LA.
Okay.
And we'll see there. Steph usually goes off when it's crypto, but it's the Clippers and not the Lakers. So hopefully we get a good Steph performance. Hopefully Klay can continue what he's been doing, because I believe this is his 4th 24th game in the last 5 games.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought it was 5th, but all right. Yeah. But we need him to, because there was a time in the game that it was just like, Klay, what are you doing? That's not what you should be doing right now. Don't just toss up anything. So, but he regrouped, but we need him to kind of stay in that mindset of you can do other things. If it's not, the wide open shot, you can do other stuff. You can drive, you can kick it out. Like there are other options for you. So I'm glad that we saw that in the second half, that he did do I've got other options here. And you just saw how, and I think that just feeds into his overall playing. That if you do the other things that we know you can do, it opens up your 3-point shot that you want to have, so because he did have like a little brain fart in there, but he got out of it. So I was happy about that, because I was just like, don't do this. Don't do this.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's going to have those moments regardless, at least once in a while. He might be feeling it a little bit. Like a lot of times with shooters, like they might be missing shots, but the shots feel good coming off their hands. So they're thinking, okay, I actually got a good feel for the ball. So he tries some racy shots sometimes, which is like, all right, that's just Klay. As long as he's not doing like 3, 4, 5 of those in a row, then that's when it gets problematic. But I think, like you said, for the most part, he's been trying to do other things, affect the game in other ways, right? Defensively, he's locking in. He grabbed 6 rebounds, some in traffic, grabbed 9 rebounds last game.
And he's usually sitting at 1 or 2.
Exactly. Right. So the last 5 games, well, he got 6 this game, 9 the last game, and then 3 in the 3 games previous to that. So he's trying to get in there. He's had a few 5 and 6 rebound games other than that this year, and he's passing the ball a ton, right? Like he's drawn 2 defenders, dropping it off to guys, seeing what they can do with it. There's been plenty of opportunities where he's coming down the court, and typical Klay would be like, I'm launching this.
Yeah.
But instead of shooting it, he'll do like a pump fake up and then throw it down into the post. And it's like,
Right.
thank you, right? Just
Yes.
keep doing that, right? So
Him and Dario got a
him
bit
and
of
Dario got a little
too. Yeah.
connection. Yeah, him and Dario got a little connection. You know, he loves his white
Yeah.
European big men.
Yeah.
So
Are there any other kind? Oh no. Anyway.
well, Bogut wasn't European, but
Right.
he was
Right.
foreign white guy. So yeah, he loves his foreign white guys. But yeah, they got a little connection, and that's nice, right?
Yeah.
Because he needs to be an all-around player at this point in his career. He's not just like firecracker scorer
Right.
as consistently anymore. So finding ways to do other things to help the team is going to be huge because it just takes the load off of everybody else around him.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Love
We
that.
got anything else?
Just the fact that we hope that Andrew Wiggins is okay, and that's tough. I know that hurt to slam your finger in a car door, any door, just
Yeah.
ouch. But good news on the Gary injury. It's not a tear, it's a sprain, but we all heard
Right.
that it's still some form of a tear, but not it wasn't as dire as we initially thought. So that's good.
Yeah.
And then Chris is day to day. Chris is day to day. So we'll see.
Yeah. Thanks to Shams. Shams was just like tear. He tore his calf.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, what?
Like, no, why is this happening to us?
So he'll be reevaluated in a week, which is super encouraging because that means he could be back as early as next week.
Right.
CP3, like you said, day to day. So things aren't too bad. And if it wasn't for a meltdown last game, we would be talking about 2 good victories in a row.
Right.
So it's not the end of the world. They just got some ground to make up. And whether or not ultimately they need to make some changes with the roster later on in the season remains to be seen. But for now, I think, they can go on a little string of games, right? Like guys are trending upward back to their averages. They're starting to hit shots again. I remember for the first 8-9 games of the season, nobody could hit a shot but Steph.
Right.
Now guys are starting to hit shots again. So it's looking good. They just got to keep playing with energy and, doing all those things, playing Warriors basketball, speeding up the pace, playing defense, and doing the thing. So, yeah.
I like it. You like it. I love it. Look.
Right. Exactly. So let's keep it going. If we don't have anything else, follow on Instagram and X, support us. You know what I mean? Listen to us on all your podcast platforms, Spotify. Had somebody send me over a screenshot of their Spotify like podcast, like for the year thing. Like it shows you what you've been listening to, and they've been locked into all the Golden Spaces podcasts. So we appreciate you. Continue to support us. We'll try to keep putting out good content for you guys. And yeah. Love you all.
Yeah.
We are back.
Have a great night. We won
it. Peace. We figured out how to do these things. We figured out how to manipulate our screen. Things are just going up. Look at that. Boom. So if you're watching on YouTube, you get to see all of these cute little reactions right here. Look at these right here. Boom. We got the hearts going. It's too late for all of this. It is time to go to bed.
This is what happens when you have East Coast folk tuning in, being fans of West Coast team. We get a little loopy because it's super late out here. Well, y'all are, let's go get dinner now.
Right. Lucky. But yeah, thank you guys. We'll catch you at the next one. Peace.